gingery lemon ginger tea with honey. The knock on the window awakened Wordsworth with a suddenness that set his heart racing. It took some considerable time for him to adjust to his surroundings. He became aware of a face peering into the car, but was too stiff to move. Slowly he unfolded his body and sat up blinking in the dawn light. Somebody opened the door and Wordsworth half tumbled out of the car. It was a cold, colourless morning. The tide was out and once again seabirds were squawking noisily and a mist of rain was borne inland along the broad valley on a cool easterly breeze, sheets clattering musically against the alloy masts in the boatyard, reminding Wordsworth where he was. "Can't stay here, you know." Wordsworth found himself being scrutinised by a wiry man with a dense mass of close-cropped, sea-bleached hair, emphasising the tightly drawn and wind-blown bronze skin like scrunched-up wrapping paper. "Yes, I do realise that," still sleepy Wordsworth mumbled. "But I broke down yesterday, and I don't know what to do." "Nice motor," said the wiry man. "Classic. Probably worth a few £100. Let's have a look. Got the key?" He climbed into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine turned over once with a low, reluctant moan and gave up. "Well, battery's dead for a start, but you can't stay here," he repeated. "Let's see if we can get you moved." The man walked away into the boatyard, leaving Wordsworth shivering by the car, desperate now for his first piss of the day. Seeing that nobody was around, he walked around to the back of the shed and relieved himself against the creosoted weatherboarding, just as a wiry man came round the corner, sitting on a yellow tractor, slightly battered and scarred with rust. Taking no notice of Wordsworth, he pulled the machine behind the Volvo and attached a towing cable to the underside. When Wordsworth returned sheepishly from behind the shed, the man called out, "Right, jump in, and when you feel the cable pulling, you release the handbrake. Okay?" Wordsworth gave a weak thumbs up and did as he was told. With a creaking sound from underneath, he felt the cable tighten and released the brake as the car began to move backwards away from the water's edge. There followed a hideous grinding as the car steered itself into the large block of concrete which, in Wordsworth's view, had been carelessly left at the side of the road. "You're supposed to steer the thing," yelled the wiry man. They stood together, hands on hips, surveying the damage in the way that men like to do after a collision. "Right, you get back in. I'll slacken the cable and roll you forward, and then you steer when I start pulling you up the hill until I stop. Got that?" Wordsworth obediently nodded. "Once we get going, I'll tow you into the boatyard and see if we can't find you a little space to park her up until we get you sorted. I can charge the battery for you." This was all it took to raise Wordsworth's spirits. Someone to take charge. When eventually the enormous vehicle was shunted back and forth and manoeuvred into a tight space between two sheds, Wordsworth stepped from his Volvo and slapped his hands together in a job well done kind of way. Reaching out a hand, Wordsworth said, "Thank you so much for your help. My name's Wordsworth." "Bronco," said the wiry man. "How'd you do? Have you got far to go?" Wordsworth looked blank. Bronco tried again. "Do you live near here?" I don't actually live anywhere, Wordsworth told him after a considerable silence. I'm not homeless, he protested. It's just, well, you see, my girlfriend, partner, his lower lip began to wobble. He sniffed and carried on. Well, I suppose you could say that she abandoned me. I was on my way to Aldborough to see a friend. Well, you won't get to Aldborough this way. You'll need to get back to the A12. Ah, yes. Well, you see, that was my original plan, but there's a little bit of a problem. The car isn't technically insured, and I was hoping to avoid the attention of the police. Yes, that would be a problem. Is there anywhere around here I can stay for a while? I don't have much money. I'd just like to rest. Places do come up for rent down here occasionally, but not often. Johnny London snaps 'em up as soon as look at 'em these days. He's started to cotton on, but he don't usually come all the way down. He'd be slumming it, and he don't like that. He's already bought most of High End for weekends. Wordsworth tried to appear less London by offering a tut-tut of disapproval. I suppose there's Robbie's old cabin just along the way there. Bronco took out his tobacco pouch and rolled a cigarette, lit it, and took a long drag. Robbie was a sailmaker, and a good one too. His sails were a proper work of art, natural red ochre on canvas. But nobody wants handmade canvas sails no more, so he took off. Nobody's heard from him these past 9 months or more, said Bronco. I can maybe ask Fraser, the boatyard owner, see what he thinks. I'd be most grateful if you could, said Wordsworth, calling on all the charm he could throw into the mix before reaching a full grovel. Fancy a coffee? Wordsworth wanted to hug him. The two men crunched their way across the shingle of the boatyard, past a rag bag of moored houseboats that were almost certainly seaworthy vessels at some time, now marooned deep into a silty mud at the water's edge. Rickety gangplanks led out to the equally rickety-looking decks, encircling dark cabins, the homes of some kind of river gypsies in Wordsworth's judgment. 10 minutes later, Bronco and Wordsworth sat out on the varnished deck of the elegant houseboat that was Bronco's home, drinking coffee with a few biscuits. This boat is amazing. Do you take it out to sea? Asked Wordsworth, through a mouthful of jammy dodger. She's nowhere near seaworthy, said Bronco. She may be smart topside, but below she's rotten as an apple. I spend all my time just trying to keep out the damp. Shame. A distant bell rang. Anyway, I've got to get to work. You can stay a while if you like. Thanks, said Wordsworth. What exactly do you do? I'm the ferryman, said Bronco, and strode off towards the jetty.